It's like the world's biggest buffet menu, and we gotta take a bite out of everything. We're talking street racers, off-road, pro racing, freestyle. We could take a test run with any of them. Or if you ask me, do them all. Pick which one you want to try first and let's go. My friend, welcome to the Motor Nation.
After 30 hours, the crew has left me with a lot of wonderful memories. They aren't the kind of memories that are filled with emergent stories you get from exploring an open world, and they're not memories that involve goofing around with other strangers. Nope, the crew is lacking in both of these aspects. Instead, my memories are filled with the game's variety of vehicular activities and the wonderfully curated tracks, the unrealistic, the impossible, and the delightful. It's surprising to see just how much The Crew 2 differs from the original game. There's been a noticeable shift in Ubisoft's last few open-world titles, one that's been moving towards a focus on player-driven progression, which means large sections of optional activities, non-linear structures, and rewards for doing just about anything, and The Crew benefits significantly from this direction. The gritty crime angle from the original game is gone, and instead The Crew 2 takes reams of pages from Forza Horizon. The game centers on a nationwide festival of motorsports where you, a rookie, are poised to become the next big star. But while the setup is conventional and the focus on social media fame is obnoxious, what it brings to the game is a colorful and upbeat vibe, as well as an impressive variety of different disciplines and positively ridiculous arcade driving on land, water, and through the air. Despite the game's focus on real-world branding and the similarities to televised motorsports, The Crew 2's greatest asset is its willingness to be ridiculous. Races in The Crew 2 might involve jumping your street racing car off skyscrapers, or your powerboat off the Hoover Dam. They might include making high-speed touring cars go head-to-head through the tight, windy Hollywood Hills, and making motocross bikes take huge jumps across shipping containers and freeways right before you transform into a plane like some kind of extreme sports mecca. This is a game that will cover LA in 3 feet of snow for no logical reason, other than the fact that icy roads make for more thrilling street races. Abundant nitro boosts, uncomplicated drifting, and generous rubber banding also help keep the act of driving exciting when things are relatively tamer. As a game with an open world, races and challenges can naturally be found when you stumble across them at particular points in the map. However, playing The Crew 2 with open world exploration as your primary means of moving from activity to activity reveals the game's major downfall. It's too big, and all the activities and interesting locations are too spread out. But with that in mind, The Crew 2 thankfully makes it easy to cut your commute down via player-friendly shortcuts. The game has an option to view all 120 primary activities and countless more skill challenges in a categorized list-style view, with the option not just to set a waypoint to them, but instantly start them no matter where you are in the world at no cost. The loading times in The Crew 2 are impressively brief all around, so if you want to, you can churn through races and challenges back to back to very quickly and efficiently rack up progression points, earn cash, and set leaderboard positions from the moment you start. It's an option that's both convenient and gives the impression that the game is conscious of your time. Likewise, any activity can be restarted or aborted in seconds if you're having a bad run, and there's a quick back on track feature that can be used at any time. When you're not in an event, you can switch to any vehicle you own immediately, without penalty and without having to go anywhere. That's on top of being able to assign a favorite ground vehicle, boat, and plane to your right analog stick to allow for instantaneous switching during free roam exploration, which provides its own kind of fun. Any vehicle that's available for sale is also available for you to quickly test drive on a moment's notice. The variety of different vehicular disciplines in The Crew 2 is downright impressive. Each of the 14 styles is tangibly unique from one another. Each is housed within one of 4 families, which you're free to move between to perpetuate your overall progress. All up, the crew has street racing, drifting, drag racing, long-distance hypercar racing, cross-country rally raid, motocross, loose surface rallycross, plane aerobatics, jet sprint boating, monster trucking, powerboating, air racing, touring cars, and Grand Prix. But while the execution of the Crew 2's disciplines might not completely satisfy purists of any one given style, it does a great job of making each feel accessible, fun, and unique. I'm usually too intimidated by Grand Prix racing to give it a shot in other games, and I would have never even considered the idea of playing a powerboating game before this. But The Crew 2 encourages you to try a little bit of everything, and it's easy to do that thanks to the game's approachable arcade-style mechanics, as well as the prospects of seeing more beautiful and ludicrous tracks. And those tracks are certainly another highlight of the game, because there's an inherent novelty to the virtual tourism of The Crew 2. You'll likely recognize iconic structures, but there are also enough abstracted details that contribute to each city's atmosphere and character. And like the original game, The Crew 2 does a great job at building a seamless and recognizable version of America to drive through, whether it's a designated top-to-bottom endurance race or a self-assigned recreation of a road trip you did a few years back. And whether you're driving, boating, or flying across the Crew 2's America, it's a mostly beautiful journey. The game's natural environments, particularly bodies of water and the sky, look fantastic, as do weather effects like snow and rain. All are enhanced to breathtaking heights by the superb lighting, though the continuous day-night and weather cycle can be an occasional inconvenience during some events. Where the visuals visibly falter are in dense urban areas. You likely won't notice buildings when you're zooming past them, but any slower and you can't help but notice how plain they are, especially in broad daylight with clear skies. Character models, on the other hand, always look incredibly basic, no matter the situation. Now, the game's RPG-style vehicle upgrade system returns from the original game, though it still doesn't feel particularly meaningful. You'll receive loot after every race you win in various stages of rarity, and each corresponds to a particular vehicle part and has its own power number, which contributes to your vehicle's overall power number. There is some small benefit to this system, because all vehicles of a particular class, despite having different power levels in their stock configuration, will max out at the same number, meaning you can stick with your favorite car all the way up to and through the endgame. But while some parts come with unique gameplay perks and more professional tuning options eventually become available, I found the upgrade system pretty easy to ignore. Simply equipping the one with the biggest number was all I had to do to stay competitive. The gear system as a whole feels like it's there to act as an additional roadblock to make sure your progress to higher tiers of races stays gradual, and there were a few times where I found it necessary to replay a bunch of races I had already won in order to earn higher grade parts to give myself a reasonable chance in later events. Another obstacle is the cost of vehicles you're required to purchase to be able to participate in certain disciplines. Buying a vehicle in order to gain access to something advanced like air racing or Grand Prix is expensive and will typically empty out your in-game wallet completely. Now, I didn't need to dip into the game's real-world currency equivalent to progress during my playthrough, but people who like to keep a garage filled with lots and lots of different cars will likely have a tougher time with in-game credits. Now, the Crew 2 allows you to form a party with 3 other players to explore and participate in events together, but at the time of recording, the game doesn't offer any meaningful ways to interact with players outside your party, despite their visible presence in the always online world. Aside from manually inviting them into your own party via the roster menu, there is no way to formally challenge them to a race in any capacity. Ubisoft has stated that PvP lobbies are planned as a free content update in December, on top of new vehicle disciplines and other updates, but they don't exist in the Crew 2 as of July 2018. The Crew 2's large open world feels too sparse to be engaging enough for anything more than some light virtual tourism, and it's easy to disparage it because of that. But that world also provides the landscape for the game's most memorable experiences, and these can come hard and fast if you want them to. There's always a ridiculously indulgent twist or spectacular moment, whether it be drifting off cliffs in a snow-covered Grand Canyon before transforming into a boat to jet down the Colorado River, or hurtling down a mountain during a spectacular sunset in a rally raid. I'm annoyed by the game's lack of public interaction and meaningless gear system, but I'll fondly recall both the tension of flinging sprint boats back and forth through the narrow, artificial canals of the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, and the easygoing satisfaction of an hour-long hypercar race I did from New York to San Francisco, where I listened to a podcast and just enjoyed the rolling scenery. Despite its shortcomings, the Crew 2 still displays admirable strengths, which lie in its player-friendly features, freedom of movement, and its willingness to bend the rules in order to make things exciting and varied for an accessible, American-themed thrill ride.